Hello there everyone, Adam Cleary from FourFourTwo here, and Newcastle 8, Sheffield United 0. That was nice. Now it would be incredibly easy for me to sit here with my pants off and just go through every single goal and talk about what a great time it was as a Newcastle fan to watch that game, but I'm not going to do that because I think if yesterday proved anything, it was that Anthony Gordon is fucking mint. So to get us going here, and this is even weirder considering the scoreline, I'm going to show you something that wasn't a goal. End of the first half, Newcastle received the ball on the halfway line, and if you're Sheffield United, you're probably not overly worried about this situation. But Elliot Anderson plays the ball in behind the Sheffield United defence, and despite the fact Gordon is probably third favourite to get to this, he somehow almost turns it into a goal. Now when I first saw that, I just thought, oh, he's been quicker to the ball than the other two players, and it's his pace that's got that. But when you see the replay from another angle, it's his strength as well. He completely outmuscles the fullback to win the ball and then immediately cuts inside the centre-back and gets his shot away. And while probably not looking like too much on the face of it, that is nonetheless the actions of a wide attacker who has both pace and power and technical ability. It's really top level stuff. So it does ask the question, why wasn't he doing this last season? Where was this player then? Because that was the thing about Newcastle last season. If there was any one position in Eddie Howe's starting 11 that kind of felt like it was changeable up for grabs, it was that left-sided attacking role. So Maximan had a long run there. They played Isak there. Joe Linton was occasionally in it. If you've spent £40 million on a player who likes to play there, he should be able to cement himself in that squad. But try as he might, he just didn't. In fact, it was pretty bad for Anthony Gordon last year. There was a moment in the Brentford game when Newcastle were hanging on to a 2-1 lead. Gordon had been brought on at half-time to replace Jacob Murphy, gave away a really silly foul towards the end of the game, and Eddie Howe just hooked him on the spot. He substituted the substitute. And Gordon's reaction to being substituted in that game drew a load of headlines all of their own. He was clearly very frustrated. He didn't take it particularly well. Howe had to have a word with him. He got questions about it for weeks and weeks afterwards, and we started to think maybe this was a bad buy. But then, right at the end of last season, something happened. Gordon started in the game against Chelsea on the final day. He scored a goal, and he gave an interview after the game to the Newcastle United in-house media team where he basically said, "I've not been getting played because I'm not good enough." He'd said he'd found the transfer both mentally and physically really challenging. He'd been way off the levels Howe expects of his players, but he was going to go away that summer, take part in the under-21 Euros, get himself as fit as he has ever been, and then come back next season a different player. Now that's all well and good for a player to just say in an interview. You hear that kind of stuff all the time, but he has absolutely been as good as his word. He went to the under-21 Euros, he got player of the tournament in that, and he has come back a completely different player. And the reason for that is because now he has got the physical aspect of his game up to the right level. Anthony Gordon can now show you why Anthony Gordon is such a good footballer. For someone his age, his on-pitch intelligence, his ability to read a game is just light years ahead of where it's supposed to be. Like, Anthony Gordon understands space better than fucking Brian Cox. And that's why I wanted to show you that first clip. Like, we'll just add Sheffield United to this pitch here. And despite the amount of points they had on the board at this part of the season, Sheffield United have actually made it really difficult for all the other teams they've played against with this sort of low block 3-4-3/5-4-1. They're very hard to break down. City had a really tough job. It was a late goal there that won it. They looked like they were going to get all 3 points against Tottenham, but again, 2 late goals undid them. They make it really difficult for teams to break them down. But if you go back to the start of that clip, just look at Gordon's starting position. He is really wide, but he's also not that far advanced. Now, Sheffield United, a team who want to be both deep and compact, that creates 2 entirely separate problems for them. Him holding that much width means they can't stay as narrow in the centre as they'd like to. The fullback has to go out to address him even just a little bit, and the fact he isn't pushing on as much as he can means they can't automatically sit as deep as they would like. It leaves space in behind. Anderson then plays the ball into that space he's created. He's got the quickness to then beat the defender to it, and then the strength to muscle him off it, and despite the fact the other defender has done really well to read the danger and come across and double up, he then uses his ability to cut inside the pair of them, and it's only a really good save off the deflection that stops that being a goal. Like, I know it probably seems a bit of a weird clip to zone in on, but it's just got little bits of everything in it. It shows how much he understands the game, it shows how he exploits the space, it shows how quick he is, it shows how strong he is, it shows how good he is on the ball. I'm annoyed that's not a goal, because it would have looked a lot better if it ended up in the back of the net, but you can just see all the different attributes that make him so good in it. But you can see that understanding of space in his goal as well. This time when Anderson picks up the ball, Gordon isn't standing wide anymore, he's come into the centre and dragged one of the centre-backs into that area along with him. Now when you look at it as a freeze frame here, there is undoubtedly a glaring space right in the middle of the goal that Gordon could attempt to make a curved run into, and if Anderson finds him, he might be through, but the fact there's other centre-backs around there means probably not the best option. Instead, what he wants is the ball played into the space out wide. He even points and shows Anderson exactly where to put it. And again, just like the other clip, now that he has used his understanding of the space to create an opportunity, he relies on his ability to exploit that. He knows he's got the centre-back beat if he tries to take him on one-on-one, and thanks to this brilliant run from Dan Burn taking the covering midfielder out of the equation, as soon as he isolates him on the edge of the box, he cuts back inside, leaves him for dead, and curls a brilliant ball into the corner. Like, it's dead easy in both of those clips to look at like his pace or his technique or his finishing or something like that, but what sets him apart from other players who have those attributes is those are two chances created entirely by his reading of the game and his ability to maneuver other players into positions where he can then go and hurt them. And this isn't new, by the way. As much as Newcastle fans won't want to revisit it, he was doing this unbelievably well against Liverpool. Now, as you're no doubt aware, while Liverpool do use a 4-3-3, they're one of those teams that like to invert one of their fullbacks to create a box midfield and get numerical superiority. So Alexander-Arnold tends to come across here, and that gives them an extra player in this area of the pitch. Now, Alexander Zinchenko is another player who does a very similar thing to what Alexander-Arnold does here, and he has said in an interview that he loves to play this system because it's absolutely no win for the attacker. Now, I can't remember what the exact quote was, but it was something like, if the attacker follows me into that area, then he can't do any damage out wide where he's at his best, so that's a good result, and if he doesn't follow me out there, then we've got a man advantage, so happy days. But Gordon absolutely terrorized Alexander-Arnold when he was in this position. He was happy to go with him into that area and then press him every single time he received the ball. That's where he got his first yellow card from. He hounded him down, he won the ball back, and in his frustration, Alexander-Arnold chucks the ball away and gets a yellow card. Gordon was also so confident in his ability to beat him one-on-one that he was even really happy to drop all the way back into the defense when Alexander-Arnold was up that high, because he knew if he did then get the ball, the space this would have left would have been perfect for him. You remember all the controversy about whether or not he should have been sent off. Gordon receives the ball, he beats Szoboszlai, he attempts to break into this space. Alexander-Arnold makes contact with him because he knows he's got him beat and he could potentially have been sent off. And while it's dead easy to look at Newcastle's goal in that game as an absolute clanger from Alexander-Arnold, if you look at Gordon's reading of the game and his decision of when to put him under pressure, it's a mistake entirely brought about by his actions. When the ball breaks loose, it's obviously going to go to Salah, but Gordon recognises that it will be doing so with his back to goal and with Dan Burn in very close attendance. The most sensible thing for Salah to do in that position is to roll it back into Alexander-Arnold. And before he even makes that pass, Gordon is alive to it. He's on his way to close down the defender, which Alexander-Arnold recognises, and it means he can't then control it on his strong foot. He has to try and take it on his left, and that's where the mistake comes from. And again, just like the Sheffield United clips, he has created a situation that he knows he can rely on his technical ability to exploit. He's got the pace to get away from the recovery runs, and he's got the ability to finish that through Alisson's legs. He does it again leading up to the red card as well. Like, Gordon holds a bit of width here, not as much as in the Sheffield United clip, but enough that isolates Alexander-Arnold from the rest of the midfield. Despite the fact Alexander-Arnold tries to show him down the channel where he's going to be slightly less dangerous, he's got the faith in his ability to then beat him on the inside, gets into that area, which is now fairly empty, plays the ball through for Isak, and that's where the foul comes from for the red card. This is all why he was so important to England under 21s in that Euros as well. Like, their system was incredibly flexible, but they had Gordon playing centre forward. He was mostly used as a false nine. And that was primarily because of his great understanding of space, allows him to recognise when to go wide, when to drop off, when to change, and that allowed like Emile Smith-Rowe and Morgan Gibbs-White to push up into the more attacking areas, but also he got an amazing goal from it. Here he is playing as a normal centre forward. He pushes the defence back and back and back, and then finally recognises the right time to drop out of that area into the space he has created and applies the finish. Am I painting a clear enough picture now? Anthony Gordon understands space on a football pitch so well. He is able to create it through his starting positions. He is able to exploit it through his ability. Nobody is doing this quite like he is in the Premier League at the minute. Like, even just the difference in his numbers between this season and last season are absolutely astonishing. Like, I get it's a small sample size, we've only played 6 games, but the leap he has made already is mind-blowing. You can see here, last season he wasn't taking players on very well, he wasn't carrying the ball very far, his runs weren't particularly penetrative or progressive, and you compare that to this season and it's just a completely different player. He's been one of the best players in the league this season for how far he's carried the ball up the pitch, for how many times he's done it in the final third and into the penalty area. This is just such a dangerous footballer. But what's going to be even more pleasing to Eddie Howe is the intensity with which he is doing this. Like, bring his defensive numbers into this. There's virtually no wingers or wide attackers who are winning the ball back, who are applying as much pressure to their opponents as Anthony Gordon is as well. Oh, and if you just want a really little funny statistic to back all this up, in virtually all of the games Newcastle have played this season where Anthony Gordon has been on the pitch, the opposition's player assigned to mark him has been booked, including AC Milan's captain, who actually got subbed off as well. Like, I know Milan dominated that in a lot of different ways and they probably should have won it, but just forget all that. Anthony Gordon got the captain of AC Milan booked and hooked. And he's still only 22, by the way, which I think is the most impressive thing. Like, his ability doesn't particularly surprise me, doesn't even particularly impress me that much. There are a lot of players who can do with the ball what he does with the ball, but just up here, his ability to read the game and understand where he's best to position himself and to maneuver the opposition out of position, to create chances for himself and his teammates, that's light years ahead of where he should be at that age. He's not perfect mind by any stretch of the imagination. He still has to work on a few different things. He was almost certainly getting rested against Sheffield United because he's already 1 yellow card away from a suspension, and that's incredibly early in the season to be talking about that. So he's still got some stuff to work on, but in terms of the raw ingredients, what he's actually got, Christ, he's a good player. And that's why Newcastle spent 40 million quid on him last January, even though he couldn't get into the team. Like, they recognize what an incredible talent he is, what incredible potential he has. He was available in that window for what they felt was way below his ultimate market value, so you go and get him then. You worry about getting him into the team and how he fits later, but you go and get him when he's available. It's like, have you ever seen a really nice, like, light summer jacket in the sale in, like, November or December for, like, half what it's going to be later on? Like, yeah, you're not going to wear it straight away. It's going to sit in the cupboard for ages, but like, when that sun comes out, everyone's going to be asking where you got that, and they won't believe how much you paid for it. So yes, there you go, Anthony Gordon, a player who told you all he was going to have a big season and is now having a big season. But as ever though, please let us know what you make of Anthony Gordon in the comments below. And while you're here, why not subscribe to 442 on YouTube? We hit 442,000 subscribers, which was a very satisfying little thing for me. In the meantime though, you get me on Twitter or X or whatever at Adam Cleary, CLERY, Instagram, Threads as well. All the 442 socials, they're in the corner of the video. Check them out at your leisure. And until next time, my friends, 8-0. 8-0. 8-0.